Chapter 9. Aria, up the street. She had stopped at the counter on her way out. The landlady kept with her the look of cheer on the face beneath the blue hair, streaked with white once, down front left strands, the cheer hidden, a secret between them, hidden, safe and untouchable behind an embrace, a kiss behind her ear, the warmth of respect from Aria. Within the secret told with a blink from her outstretched hand to press into her heart just once. Aria, knowing the release of life, the kind death did bring. The landlady, she was part of it now. Within the blink, again they would never be so close. Aria, around the corner, gone from the eyes of her, walked into a wind, light against her brow. To move her hair back just enough, without boast for itself, enough for her to see ahead. The stranger, at his desk, out there the stars set above the line of roofs. Saxophone moon, water to his lips, scotch swimming within. Readied his business, stared into the night. Lined in his mind connected the stars, drawing her ink. Neckline down, birds of prey on her feet. He wrote the check and signed, the need for a job erased by loss years back. Writing the rent check was nothing to him, the same nothing as a home and boat, a new car, or for anything else men from the daylight dreamed. Where he was now, a shore few men reached. Either this exact shore or a sink to the bottom. There was no midway, no lighthouse. Constellations of ink, nothing else. There was nothing else. The old man watched the stars, uncovered by no roof he makes. Backward there, head in the south, rolled over to count the steps of hustle. Handle of a blade buried beneath his belly, backfill still soft.
Sleep above the trophy, never get sick.
Across the field, across the street, she walked into the place, his eyes set on context, firm, without failure. Aria. The room became hers. Tonight she was off, but the checks were in. Apart from the waitresses, the bartender, manager, she received salary every week. The place was alive because of her. Last Christmas, she was the only one to get a bonus from the holdings company, signed with a stamp, one sentence typed on a full sheet around it. Thank you for your good work. Out the door and into the city. On nights she was off, she walked the boulevard, the streets, the alleys. She walked all night, cafes. The last 6 months she had opened herself, indulgences small. Her home was her love, but to keep her mind strong, she had to let in again the ups and downs of faces, of food not made by her, the taste of sugar. Eyes of them stopped, cold deflect, a star in the city without their approach. Cafes and coffee. The night within her, under her and in her blood. The city watched her move and waited for what she wanted. Aria. Her eyes in a novel, her fingers down the page. Music in her head from a time lost on them. Empty cup, boots and body, hair to rule down. Shops and storefronts, vignettes she ignored. One place to buy clothes. One night finishing behind her, she stopped at the edge of the quarter, turned around, and went back home. He watched her through the eyelet when he heard the hall door open. Her long ghost. Inside, beat of 3 on down, she was gone. He waited. Out of the lift, lobby, birds, cloth over cage, landlady reading. Face relaxed. Her hair was darker now. The white of it, shrill, had begun to restore by the roots when the detectives broke the news. She read, confident profile, posed when she heard the lift reach bottom. The stranger smiled. At the counter, he apologized for her loss. They spoke about the world. They spoke about how it was to move on from things long-lived, uprooted. Abrupt change from life was the only change that hurt. He handed her his rent, and he told her the truth the city had shown her. The less we have to love, the more we live without knowing it. Across the counter, his lips to her cheek, a squeeze to her arm. Less we have. He left into the night. He left her blood hot. Night in the city. Afraid of no man, he moved throughout. Stepped over killers who slept off the speed. The city that would eat them, blind and deaf and dumb. The stranger, the years of him, all the years dipped in her blood. 2 doors down, and he was nothing. To feel her pulsing, the heart protected, hers. It would beat how she locked the tumblers down, 3 in their beats. Of all the risen moons, 1 moored to his wrists, firmament, a recess of hatred. To break free no longer possible, the way time would stop under speed. The stranger, his love hidden, his heart deep from the old city. The stranger now, dust of a hanging moon to cry upon his hair. Obsidian pushed back below neon, the buzz, his hate recessed, firmament heart. Past him once in the hall, what he would tell her if given the grace from a place he had never seen. Drunk, he would feel it. Sober, it blinded him. A jackroller, pimp, another pimp that passed him there, dead-eye to let him know, his life without worth against the backdrop of night. Pimp. The stranger would kill him in a grip, but lose his grace forever, lost up high, the orbit for a moon fed, the flesh of Aria. A moon dead-eyed, rolled by the Jacobite that passed him in the night. There was Aria, always Aria, fed a moon lost to the firmament. Flames to fan light, its dust reaching, moored recess of hatred. The wrists of the stranger, the blood of Aria, her years, the moon, the sun waiting, bright slave. Hours from now, it would burn for nothing more than to shroud her skin through a quilt, to feed her blood, to feed the moon, recess for its dust, its light moored to his wrists, 2 of them under a city, trapped. Only thing now was the constant of always, his heart, its excuse in neon, a word in bullets, in neon. The word rested upon her hips, the moon allowing the sun to enslave itself. He watched her through the eyelet when he heard the hall door open. The sun on high, the neon lost, gone to the word above his wrists, to the day for them to sleep. His wrists, her middle rising and falling, the sun shrouding her beyond the ink, his arms, her flesh, moored, the neon word. Chapter 10. The city, the dream of the city beneath the naked moon. The detective, his eye on the window from the elevator. The building, where he lived. Up to his floor, the moon on high, white, cloudless night, another. The city. When I called him over from his old place, from that wreckage. His first year, the city around him, where he had started in the quarter, in a place not far from the stranger, from the last case. Going up, watching the floors pass between the doors, his mind reached back. His first year, the sleep he had found, the job, the energy, the quarter beneath his feet, he would walk to the precinct, the air around him, the feel of Paris, had he been to Paris. The outside feel brought in from the buildings, their surfaces, light of dawn, warm. The orange of it fell gold against the high glass. The contraction of night, the quarter lit, the grace of a moon to surrender itself. The floor, his, doors opened, his keys pulled, into the lock. Paris, would he see Paris? Was it still within him to wonder? Was the right still there behind the faces of the dead? Door shut, suspenders thumbed off, holster in peace on the bureau. A shot of rye poured, put back. Empty fridge. The night out there is cerulean from neon. Floor 4, north of downtown, the quarter, away from there. The city, wrapped in the neon, a calling to others now, born sensibilities, the ones assigned to artists and thugs, he understood. To run off the grid within its confines, to live outside but awake each dusk in its center. The advantage of understanding this, and edge won over the new blood. The city on fire, the feel of the pull. His last city, wrought only with the veneer. Past it, his years tilted him into the court of the keeper. His second year, to move north from the quarter, when his sleep ended without sense. It was simply stripped from his body. The city, now, this place, wrought throughout the core, veins without end. His age now, glazed over stare from the years of them, of understanding them, without the care to feel what they did, to reach for their shores. All now but a curious disgust, a spark, sometimes, dead now for quite some time, yet the heart stayed hungered. Cigarette to lips, watch undone as set next to the bottle. Him, from a thriller behind the counter of a widow. Research for pulp, but nothing untrue. Blueprint for silver, his kind aped in art across history, not a full capture caught once. Family blood in his job, oblivious to living dishonestly. In his chair, the window bare, heart still hungry for something he could not say. Poured another, put it back. Reach to pull, stop the light. Looking out into it all, the fat man, dead. His widow, her joy. A nostril breath, his mind on the case already cold. Bad magic for him. He let the breath go and the same thought went out loud. The first time it had done so. Something not right out there too long. If he would only sleep one long night. He had not slept right in years. Tried to blame the divorce, being married to the force, or the panic he wanted to feel from the dead. He had seen as many dead faces as live ones walking down the street any one day. Their faces, the ones who had them, had a look to them he had not seen in the last city, years back. The faces now, the look of the dead. There was a lost game look, an acceptance. The face on the fat man stayed in him. Blade in skull, teeth obliterated. But the expression, the mix of shock, maybe fear, maybe, but the mix of shock with relegation, the fingerprint of emotion never to be undone. A player who had lost. He could see it from a thug, and he had, but this was a man far removed from the hustle. The man had taken on a debt without ever owing one to cost his life. This was a man destroyed before he destroyed. A hit, but for no good reason existing. He could not sleep because the faces of the dead had the same last look. When their timeline ended at night, he stared out into it and it stared back. He understood there he was not insane. He was not wrong. 2 more shots and he was in bed. The dawn was coming and the night pulled away from his chair. The years working the city, when he walked the quarter at night, when he hunted clues in the late afternoon. The men of daylight left untouched by the city. The detective moved between worlds and lived only because the city knew the love in his heart was true.